The two most important things in blade sorcery are obviously blades and, of course, mods. On an unrelated note, we are talking about sorcery today. So what is sorcery? Well, sorcery is magic, and there are 5 known types right now: fire, lightning, gravity, body, and mind. Most of them are pretty self-explanatory. Fire is fire, lightning is lighting, etc. Mind is a little confusing, as some of the mind skills change the user's perception of time, and some are just gravity skills. I don't know. There may be more skills like necromancy that we know from Greystone, but none of them have been, officially confirmed. The strength of sorcery is determined by how much sorcery energy is built up in Baeth's core, and how close Baeth is to the Prion star in the sky, Kevosa. Now, I covered this in my Ending Explained video more extensively, but pretty much every few thousand years, someone with the title of the Kemenet will activate the tower known as the PMN, which releases sorcery energy from Baeth's core and prevents the world from going into apocalypse. But this will also reset the strength of magic and make it very weak until more of it builds up in Baeth's core. This is why factions like the Eye are trying to kill us. Sorcery isn't just dangerous to the people around us, it's a danger to ourselves. Unless you practice very carefully, you can easily hurt yourself. In the Outlaw Notes, there are writings of a kid casting fire and accidentally smoldering himself to death. There's also accounts of people casting lightning and losing all of their fingers. Even as a player, you can cast a meteor too close, or gravity boost yourself to death. So how does one wield sorcery? Well, they need to consume crystals. There are 3 types of crystals: crystal shards, crystal cores, and prismatic crystals. 2 out of these 3 are naturally forming, and we can see them being mined out in certain rooms of Delgarian ruins. And yes, at some point I will talk about the Delgarians. It will be a massive video, so please be patient. Crystal shards are the bits of crystals that humans actually have to consume to cast sorcery. We will get back to those in a bit. But crystal cores are what decides the type of sorcery you use. They can be combined with other crystal cores of the same type to cast more powerful magic. Prismatic crystals aren't naturally forming like the other types. They're actually Delgarian constructions. We know because of this DPS note. When using some sort of altar, they can be transformed into any type of crystal core. Now this all sounds cool, but there are some major drawbacks to crystals. They can be compared to drugs in the way they are addictive. They get the user amped up and dangerous. They turn their skin white and their veins black. They also cause really bad withdrawals, which makes it nearly impossible to get off of them. They give you extremely powerful powers, but they make the body very weak. It also seems that some people have a much easier time with crystals than others. For example, us. How easily we use sorcery is why we were chosen by the Delgarian Preservation Society to fill the role of the Kemenet. We actually have a play-by-play about how crystal addiction plays out. Dr. Orlean, Outlaw Medical Help Expedition Journal, Day 1. There is so much work for me to do here. The state of those people is unbearable. I've seen more horror in a day staying among the outlaws than I did in a month at the Royal Hospital. I don't regret my decision, but those crystal shards create so many gruesome effects on their users. I must study them closer and find potential ways to help these poor beings. Dr. Orlean's Journal, Day 3. Just about yesterday, a young boy, maybe 15, decided to double the number of shards he usually takes. After only a few minutes, you could see in his eyes how much he regretted his decision. Being a fire manipulator, the shards seemed to amplify a lot of his heat generation. His body turned red. He was sweating profusely. Eventually, it was clear nothing could help the poor lad. He was quite literally melting in front of my eyes. First, the softest part of his body. His eyes started to melt first, and he was screaming in horror for help. Soon enough, his agony would be over though. His whole body seemed to either melt and fall to the ground, or instantly catch fire. After what was left of him collapsed to the floor, the whole thing caught fire, and there were only ashes left of him. I will not forget his desperate cry for help, while I could do nothing. Dr. Orlean's Journal, Day 12. After about 2 weeks here, I am exhausted. I would need at least 3 more fellow doctors to assist me in my tasks. While I strive to save as many of these poor souls as possible, the extent to which they hurt themselves is impossible to handle. Dr. Orlean's Journal, Day 14. Today, a gravity sorcery user came back to the camp, claiming to have found and absorbed a core gravity crystal. Regardless of if that was true or not, She proceeded to show off the extent of her new powers to the crowd. She jumped from the top of a nearby cliff and attempted to control her fall using some gravity pushes. The issue is, she used them much too late, arriving at full speed to the crowd. She pushed really strong, way too strong. 3 people that were right under her got hit by the gravity ripples in full swing. The result was horrifying, to say the least. All of their members were ripped apart. Arms, legs, necks. What was left of them was a pool of blood, and body parts all around. One thing that really terrified me, though, is that the gravity sorcery user didn't see the reality of what she did. Under the influence of the crystal, she was euphoric, laughing at the situation, covered in blood. That, of course, only lasted for some time, and when the effect slowed down, she realized what horror she created. She will be executed tomorrow. Send a message to the rest of the group. Dr. Orlean's Journal, Day 38. I'm running out of time. I decided to attempt a risky experiment on myself. I will expose myself to a very small dose of shards to understand the effects. Maybe this will give me some clues as to how bodily functions are influenced by the shards. I will journal the effects tomorrow. Dr. Orlean's Journal, Day 39. I am writing under the effects of the shards. It's becoming increasingly difficult to control my emissions, and my hands are shackling. To Mac boot o dob. I feel good. I feel amazing. I don't sense anything wrong in my body. Just I so much be enjoys and pure. I will come back to this later. Now I just want to try my new powers. Dr. Orlean's Journal, Day 40. Today I feel absolutely terrible. Everything is hurting me. I have a massive headache and I barely slept last night. The only thing I remember is that I felt great, then increasingly terrible. I couldn't get anything of medical use out of this experiment. If not that, I now understand why the outlaws cannot stop using this thing. Of course, they use much more than I did. They must build a tolerance to the shards, which causes them to need a higher amount to get the same effect, but with increasingly strong negative effects as well. Dr. Orlean's Journal, Day 41. I can now say that I don't feel the need to come back to it, and definitely not the need to increase my dose. In any case, with how little I took, I don't risk falling into it again. I did feel nice though. I wonder if I should try to experiment with a smaller dose to regain some of my consciousness. Dr. Orlean's Journal, Day 42. Yesterday, I took some shards again. I thought I would only take a smaller dose to carry out my medical experiments, but as soon as I took a little, I thought to myself that there wouldn't be any harm in taking a bit more since it wasn't a large dose. Soon enough, I found myself taking shards again and again. I am trying to refrain from taking more, and it definitely feels like an effort to do so. I do understand the outlaws' struggle now. They certainly have a very hard life. Resisting the urge to gain powers again is an immense effort, even at my level. Dr. Orlean's Journal, Day 43. I met with one of the pirate leaders, Kyojiiin. I believe he might be the one they call the Baron, up in Araden. He confessed disapproving of the sales of shard, and we both agreed that the only way to help the outlaws would be to stop the sales altogether. He will use his influence over the pirate ruler to see what can be done. He mentioned, however, that this could go very wrong, and is even prepared to go into hiding in the worst case scenario. I did not expect a pirate leader to have such kind of morale considerations. Dr. Orlean's Journal, Day 45. I told myself that this is the end. I am so angry with myself. How could I, an experienced doctor, expose myself to such a dangerous component? It's over. I won't use this anymore again. I may use one tonight to feel the effect one last time, but then it'll be over. I've decided to go back to the capital to study my notes in my laboratory, in order to not expose myself to the danger of shards until I find a viable cure for them. Dr. Orlean's Journal, Day 46. I lost a leg yesterday. I took more shards. A lot more. Lightning started to emit from my feet uncontrollably, and then my entire body. The feeling was rather pleasant, actually. The outcome, not so much. I have burns all over, and my left leg was so badly damaged that I had to amputate it. I'm stuck here now, and there isn't much I can do about it. Dr. Orlean's Journal, Day 47. I am feverish and weak. I fear for my life. I sent a letter to the hospital ward in hopes that they will come and rescue me from my misery. In the meantime, I shall rest, and limit my shard consumption as much as I can. The notes end there, and we know that Dr. Orlean did not survive. In another outlaw note, we can read the Baron mentioning a, quote, doctor on his deathbed. I've always loved the concept of power being the very thing that makes you the most powerless. I feel like this small amount of text perfectly encapsulates that. Thanks for watching. Sorcery in Blaine Sorcery has so much detail put into how it works compared to other fantasy worlds. It's honestly amazing. I have a Discord you can join, it's linked at the top of the description. If you want to talk to me, or about Blaine Sorcery lore, or anything really, you should join. And again, thanks for watching.